This is why men don't pursue women anymore. Because so many men are on dating apps nowadays, it has given them this illusion of an unlimited choice in women. So when men go out to bars or restaurants, they are not pursuing women anymore, because they know that when they go home, they will have the backup of the dating app.
Strike that. Reverse it. This way, please.
Here's a funny story for you. When I found this little gem, I thought I had tapped into a video network from an alternate dimension, but after fidgeting around with the wires in my computer and consulting with an intergalactic space toll booth operator, it turns out there was nothing wrong with my systems and everything was wrong with this woman's brain pan. Imagine being so brain damaged to the point where you're straight up denying basic reality. Moronic high schoolers know that the ratio of men to women on dating apps is so drastically skewed that women get to sort through literally hundreds of DMs in a single day of being on an app, and men are lucky to get one reply a week if they are not Chad. This is common knowledge, and I would be concerned for this woman's mental well-being if it wasn't for the fact that what she's saying is downright hilarious.
It's way easier to sit on your sofa all night and to scroll and swipe and chat all night than to try and pursue a woman in a bar. And then there is the image that men have of women nowadays that we have become demanding. Men know that women nowadays, they don't just want a provider, they want a man who's their best friend, their advisor, a good father to their children, helps in the household. And knowing that we have this whole list of expectations, men are just paralyzed. They don't even start to pursue a woman.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Well, that's because you are demanding. Your expectations are about on par with your average hostage negotiation. But instead of asking for a fully fueled airplane en route to a non-extradition treaty country where they'll sit on a beach and earn 20%, you're asking for a muscular butler who doubles as an ATM. Unless you're Chad, then you get a little bit of leeway there, but that's a different story. That's why women can just sit on the couch and get endless amounts of instant validation from countless men on dating apps. They don't have to go to the bar, but they go when they want to trick men into buying them drinks. Meanwhile, men aren't wasting their money at bars anymore because they have better things to do with their money, like buying steaks or playing archery tag. Why would we bother wasting money on a woman who wants nothing to do with us outside of a poorly made cocktail when we can shoot arrow darts at other people? That question practically answers itself.
Hell yeah!
And another reason for why men don't pursue women anymore is that through texting, men can chat with so many girls at the same time. And for a woman, texting feels like he's pursuing her, but in reality he's not, because texting doesn't need any effort. And after a month of having texted together, when a woman meets up with that man, she feels all bonded and maybe she even sleeps with him. And it's easy for that man to ghost her after that one night because he doesn't have any feeling of loss, since he didn't have to make any effort to pursue her.
Okay, God! Let me have it!
Oh, be serious, woman. How can you sit there with a straight face and say that the majority of men are just sitting on their couches, texting with multiple women, and wooing them into bed? Most dudes are lucky to get a one-word response from a woman who looks average even when she's dressed up as a bridesmaid. Unless you're referring to Chad, because that dude actually has a ton of options. Hey, wait a second. Do you honestly think a majority of men on dating apps are well-built, confident, rich dudes? How in the hell would you know that? You look like you're about to topple over if a slight breeze hits you the wrong way. You're the last woman who should be giving out online dating advice, especially when you consider the last time Chad took you out on a date. The Brady Bunch was considered one of the funniest new sitcoms in America.
That's funny because it's so true.
Aside, I personally would not advocate for employers to go looking to see how qualified the candidates are by the first thing that they're searching up after they see the name on the resume. Let's see if they have an only.
First world, praise the Lord for prostitutes.
It comes up pretty quickly.
And it wouldn't be that as
part
part of their history any more than I think it's relevant for an employer to be like, let's look through their Facebook, let's look through their Twitter, to specifically comb through their prospective applicants' internet history.
That's why I say prostitutes, prostitutes.
And I don't advocate for future employers to rummage through my junk drawer in hopes of finding intergalactic gold coins, but that doesn't stop them from obtaining a search warrant. So what's your point? We're not talking about you liking and commenting on a photo of a cute little kitty cat here.
If you think I'm gonna make a pussy joke, you're sadly mistaken.
We're talking about you posting full-on photos of your infested oil slick of relentless damnation. You've somehow magically convinced yourself that selling your naked body online for $3 a month has no consequences, despite the fact that if any employer were to hire you outside of the friendly neighborhood strip club or non-unionized houses of ill repute, they would be begging for a nightmare from the Human Resources Department alone. Because it's bad enough that you helped to completely destroy human pair bonding by enabling simp culture, you also think you should have the right to completely destroy a legitimate business because you don't think a future employer has a right to know whether or not you're an online harlot.
Okay,
In that way.
internet history and OnlyFans are two different things.
Be part of your internet.
So
Should or
if I'm a
shouldn't
CEO
aside, they
and I'm
do.
hiring somebody, let's say I'm hiring a salesperson to close high-ticket deals and they're talking with important people on a daily basis, and I'm sending that salesperson to go speak with these people, and if any of those people that they speak to look up that person's name and they find of them all over the internet, obviously they're going to take me and my company far less seriously if I have somebody working like that for me.
Right on, brother, I hear you. Man, I hear you.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there, sweet cheeks. Googling whether or not it's morally righteous to mail someone you don't like 5 pounds of dead fish is internet history. Putting photo of your average looking body online for men to purchase is known as sexual work. You know, that one thing you proudly flaunt when it politically benefits your demeanor. But in the real world, employers don't really hire prostitutes. That's simply not how basic reality works. And if you had actually been financially responsible instead of spending your money on designer lubricant, you might have actually been able to use that money you earned to be able to retire with grace and dignity. But because you made one of the worst possible decisions you could have made and completely destroyed your financial future and any possible avenue of earning an income after you reach the age of 30, you're still gonna go ahead and deny basic reality because you don't feel like it's fair to have to accept any consequences for your terrible life decisions.
Shut your dirty little mouth!
Hit the wall is a phrase used by men to describe the age at which a woman is no longer attractive.
Okay, so it turns out hit the wall is an actual phrase that is being used by men. That means that women are no longer attractive when they hit this wall. I really implore you to go and watch the rest of that video because she goes on to compare male and female celebrities in magazines and shows that even when they're close to the same age, a woman's photo will show no skin texture, whereas a man's photo will show his skin texture.
Wow. That's amazing.
And there's a simple reason for that, sweetheart. Men age like a nice smoky scotch, and women age as well as a pint of milk on a hot sidewalk. As men get older, they become more desirable, and as women get older, it's the polar opposite, mainly because your youthful appearance has faded, and the only thing capable of being inside your womb are tumbleweeds. That's why magazines will cake on an unhealthy amount of makeup on an old celebrity's face, as well as airbrush and Photoshop any wrinkles, stretch marks, and cellulite so she can look as attractive as humanly possible. And it's all an effort to convince morons like you to buy a copy of Cosmopolitan magazine while you're waiting in line at the supermarket to buy your boxed wine and frozen dinners for one. It's a pretty good system. It's been working for decades.
We're seeing this everywhere, including in social media. We're using filters everywhere. And so we're at the point now where people see a woman in real life and don't understand that that's normal. So there is no wall, but there is a problem when we have airbrushed and filtered ourselves to this level of perfection.
No, the wall is real. And you're practically living in a timeshare right in its shadow, woman. It's not that men don't find you attractive because you're not using filters. They find you undesirable because you are old. If you're single in your 50s, there's a reason why. Whether it's your career, your attitude, or your promiscuous past, men don't want to deal with that. They would rather have a younger, nicer woman who's going to complement their lives and not add on to their stress. You can blame unrealistic beauty standards all you want, but in case you forgot, unrealistic standards for both men and women have existed since the dawn of civilization. It didn't magically change because of Instagram filters. Hell, most Instagram filters are so terrible they make me laugh harder than the first time I saw Police Academy 2. And that is a phrase I don't use lightly. Don't judge. But you go ahead and tell yourself whatever you need to help you sleep at night, because I predict that particular bed is going to be cold and empty for quite some time.
I think about the girl I was with you a lot. and find myself thinking that I never want to meet her again. Not because she wasn't kind or loving, because we both know her love fell down on you like rain droplets, even on days you tried to stay dry, but because when she needed the same love herself, she often found herself in a drought.
Ew, what a mess. Ew. Ew. Ew.
No, your eyes aren't deceiving you, gentlemen and gents. This woman is posting a reaction video to a post she made about herself and why she divorced her husband. Lady, I hate to break it to you, despite the fact that you think you're the most important woman in the cosmos, nobody cares why you divorced your ex. That is your business, and the fact that you're trying to paint yourself as a victim isn't working because I have no idea what the hell you're even talking about, so I'm forced to interpret this god-awful poetry on my own. So let's give this a shot. You're trying to get sympathy by using water metaphors. That's obvious, but you're implying that you were such a loving person that you rained down your love on everyone around you, which just sounds unsanitary, and that your ex didn't want you to rain your love on him, which makes perfect sense, but you had so much love and nobody else to rain down on them, so you ended up drowning in your own fluids. Okay, allow me to respond with my own fluid metaphor.
I feel like to puke.
Her identity became a chameleon, changing colors to reflect whatever mood, blending into your life just to stay a part of it. She rarely felt good enough, even though she was enough and more, and the minimum is what she allowed herself to beg for.
This is scary.
So if I'm getting this right, the chameleon has arrived to represent the harsh reality that your neighbors weren't really into water sports. I think it's really tough to say since she switched gears. This chameleon decided, instead of having its own life and existence, that it needed to be validated by this dude because she was incapable of being able to validate her own because she was drowning in her own love rain. But if that's the case, then why is the chameleon in the desert? Maybe the chameleon represents her whiplash and changes in mood? I think, oh my god, these metaphors are awful, lady. You're sitting there crying at your own crappy poetry. How much more self-absorbed can you get? You're like some 14-year-old who thinks they're deep and introspective, but in reality, you probably got a C+ in high school English. And that C+ was most likely out of pity.
I never want to meet that girl again. I cannot imagine another day where I do not strive for the absolute maximum of what I deserve.
Nice try.
Oh, I get it now. You became a social media influencer after your dumbass TikTok videos grew in popularity to the point where you were making enough money to quit your job. This led you to resent your husband because you were making more than him, so you filed a divorce because you felt like you had outgrown your marriage, and you left him in hopes of finding a richer, better man. An endeavor which I'm assuming is proving to be obviously unsuccessful. So in order to gain sympathy and more subs, you went ahead and conjured up this terrible poetry and metaphors in an attempt to piss all over your ex-husband's good name. Why the hell else would you be making this pathetic attempt to try and say that your husband victimized you? Here's a metaphor for you. Your shitty poetry was so terrible, it gave me diarrhea of the brain. Now that's poetry. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. As always, if you find that my particular brand of humor is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button and ring the notification bell so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, and until next time, peace out, homies.